Welcome to Ramblin Kat, episode 2, where I, Mad Cat Melody, get 5 to whenever minutes to talk about whatever I want. Okay, this will be a short one, and I'll keep saying that until it is. This will be one of those times when I latch onto a topic that I really want to talk to anybody who will listen out there about, as opposed to sometimes when I just need to get stuff off my chest or I rant to myself. Maybe, eventually, as I go through these week by week, I'll latch on to a topic. I'll hit my stride, find a sensible topic and related topics that I can talk about over and over again and really dive into, see if you can guess what it'll be. I remember playing a racing game when I was younger, and because I'm not very good at video games, my mind would wander to outside the track, where I saw a Pizza Hut. As a child, I wondered who was getting paid, because I was thinking, well, is Pizza Hut getting paid to have a Pizza Hut in this video game? Or is this video game getting paid by Pizza Hut because, makes the world more realistic, I'm not just racing in some fake racetrack. I'm racing in the real world where there are Pizza Huts and 7-Elevens or whatever. I went back round and around in circles in my head. Nowadays, I understand more about how product placement works, right? It still seems weird to me because it still seems like if I'm writing a story, I'll think, I wish I could name this or that company and not have to worry about legal issues because it would make the world more real. Now, I know there are times when it does not make the world more real, when it's so blatant, so over the top. Transformers comes to mind. Transformers, in a number of ways, is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of making the world seem less real and just cheap and breaks the immersion. But there are a lot of movies where I feel like it wouldn't have been nearly as good if there hadn't been that product placement. For instance, Pulp Fiction, everybody knows, well, not everybody, I shouldn't say that, but most people know, are familiar with Quentin Tarantino. He is known for featuring a lot of brands that are either fake, he created, or he bought after they went out of business so that he could feature them in his films and have his own reality created. Big Apple or Red Apple cigarettes is one of the big ones that I know of, but in Pulp Fiction, there's a long drawn-out conversation about McDonald's and Big Mac and the Quarter Pounder with cheese. You couldn't do the joke that he was doing in that scene without having it be McDonald's and have the same impact. If you just had like a triple incher cheese or whatever, people would be like, oh, this is ridiculous. Why are you even talking about this? But to have that makes people think like, oh yeah, I guess, the metric system is a thing in our real world that I might not think about every day. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. I remember listening to a YouTube video about Bill Burr. Bill Burr was talking about what makes things funny. And one of the things he mentioned was specificity. If you tell a joke about someone eating a cookie, it's a lot more funny, or even just a story, regular people tell stories. It's a lot more funny if you say what kind of cookie, what flavor, what brand, if it was a Girl Scout cookie, if it was Thin Mints or ride-alongs. It's a lot more funny with that specificity. It's a lot more real, it's a lot more impactful. If you look at a movie like E.T. with the Reese's Pieces, you think about, oh man, this crazy alien from outer space experienced Reese's Pieces, like I've experienced Reese's Pieces. Stuff like that. The Wilson soccer ball character in Castaway is funny because Wilson is a brand that sounds like a name. If you had just made up a brand for that movie, like Frederick, nobody would get it because it's like, oh, they just named it a name. They might not be thinking about brands like Wilson. They just named it a name to get their cheap joke off, as opposed to observing things in our real world. I get annoyed every time I hear someone complain about the length of commercials. Commercials are the reason I can watch the stuff I watch for free, in some cases. Hulu is not one of those cases. I used to watch everything on Hulu for free because I just had the free version, and now there is no free version, so I'm a little salty about Hulu. But what's really annoying to me is hearing people's complaints about product placement. Even if I watch Transformers and I see Mark Wahlberg drinking Bud Light, it's a little janky, but I feel like Mark Wahlberg's a little janky. If I'm going to watch a Transformers movie, that's not the kind of thing I'm going to complain about. What I'm really talking about is how those movies can get made. Movies like smaller movies, like Crazy Nights, it can make a lot more money because of that product placement. So somebody can have an idea, and the idea can be realized for everybody else, for the world to see, because of this little manipulation of numbers in the ether that makes it so I don't have to pay as much money. Other companies will pay as much money. And here's another secret. When people talk about commercials and it's like, oh, this commercial is stupid, it's not even gonna make me buy that stuff, which is a new thing I hear. I think it's the next generation because people like to be aware and postmodern. But it's like, that's a secret. Just don't tell the companies that it's not going to affect you. And then they're going to keep shelling out a whole bunch of money, king at will. And it's kind of like you getting up, one over them, which doesn't work, of course, if you tell the companies. I'm pretty sure that nobody who owns a huge multi-million-dollar national corporation is listening to me because, well, I'm fairly certain. I'm not the biggest fan of big business, probably because I don't own one. But I think there's a lot to be said for prompts. People on YouTube, I don't want to call out any specific names, but there's a YouTuber I watch who some of his he does short sketches, kind of like TikTok type stuff. And some of his are just ads. He'll tell you in the title, like, this is a sketch, but it's also just an ad for this company. And then you watch it, and it has his same kind of humor, his same kind of personality. And that's the kind of thing I appreciate as well. In the old days when they had radio talk show hosts, instead of cutting to a recorded advertisement for Coca-Cola or something, which is what they do now a lot of the time, they would say in their own words what they like about a brand or a company or a product. And a lot of times they would have that style, that voice that you're listening to this person for. So you're still getting what you want at the same time as they're getting what they need. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. That's what I'd like to see more of. I'd rather see these pointed commercials made by people who I already like, rather than commercials that are going to break up the content I'm watching. That seems like the direction it's going in. Those people that are making those YouTube videos, I think it's a new avenue of creativity. Something they wouldn't have thought of before, maybe. Like, oh, how would I, make a skit around this product? It can open up pathways in your brain that you might not have used before. So maybe try out as a creativity exercise an advert skit. Pick a random brand, like say Dunkin' Donuts. I don't really buy donuts, but I have some theories about the future of Dunkin', not just Dunkin' Donuts, but Dunkin' and the cyberpunk future that may be awaiting us all. So it's ominous. It may bring new meaning to the phrase America runs on Dunkin'. So try that or try something else. That's my advice. Ciao.